Hello, you're all welcome to our group presentation today. My name is Benjamin McCartin. My number is number 1 on the board, U1910266. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Jayesh Isnani. My student ID is U1935719. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ademola Ibukun Shobanjo and my student number is U1929087.
I am Maureen Ogu and my student number is U1937533.
Hi, my name is Sugandha Priya. My student number is U1934248.
Alright, for our presentation today, we'll be focusing on these outlines. We'll first of all introduce the topic, and then we'll again remind ourselves of what we did in the first assessment, and then we'll carry it on from there. We'll also identify the issues and remind ourselves of what we did in the first assessment, issues that we saw in Leon's Restaurants, and then we'll focus on two main issues, marketing and finance. For these two issues, we would also consider the trends and key performance indicators in these issues. With the key performance indicators, we'll be able to direct our proposals and recommend a model that we feel are going to address these two weaknesses in Leon's Restaurants. We'll give our recommendations and conclusions. So beginning from just a recap of what we did in the first assessment, we analyzed the fast food and restaurant industry. This we did with using Porter's 5 forces. We did personal analysis, and then we also considered the mega trends in the fast food industry. We also identified the survival and success factors based on the analysis of the industry environment. We were able to propose or identify the survival and success factors in the industry. We evaluated the resources and capabilities of Leon's Restaurant in the first part of assessment also. We did this with Porter's value chain analysis. And then we are able to determine the sustainable nature of Leon's Restaurant, that is their strategy, by comparing their resources and capabilities with the success factors of the fast food industry. This we did with the VRIN or VRRO as the case may be. So from the findings of the first assessment, we were able to conclude that there are actually weaknesses in the strategy and operations of Leon's Restaurant. Two of these strategies or weaknesses are what we hope to solve at the end of this presentation. Follow-up for this particular aspect of the coursework will be, again, recapping on the issues that were identified previously in Leon's Restaurant, and then we'll justifiably select 2 of it that we are going to focus on for our proposals and business model. We would examine and identify the key performance indicators of these 2 issues that we have selected, and then we'll propose a model that we feel is going to address these 2 issues in the restaurant. Alright, issues identified in Leon's Restaurant. Again, to identify these issues, we just oppose the success and survival factors in the industry on the one hand, and then we also evaluated the resources and capabilities of Leon's Restaurant on the other hand. So in doing this, we were able to come up with 2 groups of issues that we have classified, which are, we found out that there are some issues that Leon's Restaurants have no advantage at all, and then there are other issues that they currently enjoy a competitive advantage. However, we felt that this competitive advantage is only short-lived and is temporary. For issues that they have no advantage at all, we came up with marketing as one of it. We found out that the marketing in Leon's Restaurant is not up to the standard that is required for the industry success, especially going forward in the trends. We also identified the use of technology such as self-service kiosks and others are another area that Leon's Restaurant is actually lacking. And we also identified financial issues as evidence. This we did by comparing the different financial statements in about 3 or 4 years. This again will be addressed in the later part of this report. For those issues that Leon have temporary advantage, one of it is the variety of food products and the quality of the food products that we have. Their food products are based on plant-based diet, and then they are naturally sourced, locally sourced. Also, Leon has a global presence, as said earlier on in this presentation. They have a presence in UK, of course. they have a presence in other European countries, and recently, about 2 or 3 years ago, they have a presence in the United States of America. Also, they have a strong organizational culture as represented in their human resource department and their relationship with employees.
Go.
Alright, with regards to their customer allegiance, we were able to discover that there are a lot of customers that are actually patronizing Leon's restaurants. Again, that is seen in their high revenue sales. But the customers are actually loyal to the company in the sense that they keep coming back for more. And that is, again, is something that we see as a competitive advantage. However, we feel that is a temporary one because there is an increased competition, especially at the local level. And for Leons to maintain that customer allegiance, they need to up their game in the restaurant industry. Again, just a reminder that we'll be focusing on 2 main issues, marketing and finance. Beginning from the marketing trends, let's take a look at the industry. The first thing we see in the industry is the high use of digital marketing techniques. So restaurants now use high definition cameras. They use a lot of marketing techniques that are based mainly on technology. And then there is an increased partnership with celebrities and supermarkets. So restaurants now have entered into the supermarket industry in the sense that they provide products such as sauces, cookwares, which are available in the shelves of the supermarkets. Focusing a little bit more on Leon's current strategy, we find out that they base their marketing techniques, their marketing methods around their website. So all the marketing aspects of their business are just on their website. And then they also have other products such as their cookwares and cookbooks, sample of which is in the picture there with the founder. They have also associated more with Sainsbury's. These products that we can see there from the picture are all in the shelves of Sainsbury's supermarket. And they are also associated with Gizzy, which is a professional chef and TV presenter. There's also a collaboration with delivery companies. However, this aspect of their business have.
In the next part of this presentation, we'll be looking at the marketing key performance indicators. Those were selected by using Garvin's 8 dimensions of quality, under which we chose, starting with performance, conformance, and perceived quality. In performance, we saw there's customer satisfaction, under which we measured the day-to-day operations of how Leon's measures the number of customers based on their foot traffic, based on their busy or peak periods, along with the customer attrition rate, or the rate at which they are at a lower or slower period. Under the price, we wanted to measure sales revenue, or the total number of sales they were able to achieve based on per quality or quantity of meals. When quality goes up, quantity can go down. So that's where we wanted to measure how this was actually going to turn out in terms of the inbound marketing or return on investment that Leon was putting in. Under conformance, we looked at 3 main topics, which was food quality, variety of food, and the number of feedbacks that were received from Leon's customers. In the food quality, as I mentioned already, we have to measure the number or quantity of food that was sold based on a rate or sell-through rate. This sort of gives us an idea of how Leon's marketing with food quality was perceived from the customer's point of view. The next is variety of food, under which there were the average time spent on the website. So customers wanted to increase their love for Leon as a brand. However, to do that, the challenges were they needed to measure the traffic on the website and the feedbacks that Leon receives, whether some of them could be positive, some negative. So those are the main factors that were measured. Under perceived quality, we looked at the online presence, so how the social media traffic influenced the conversion rate of Leon's brand. We also looked at organic traffic, which was how many customers actually were loyal to Leon's brand. In office adverts or office advertisements, we looked at the number of customers that were actually present in each brand for Leon's, each branch. And in the branch, there were a number of increased customers that were also there after an offline advertisement. So that would be anything related to billboards or physical advertisements that were set up to create more awareness. Next was promotions. We wanted to know the quantity of each mode of awareness. So again, in this category, we wanted to know how or the different levels of customer awareness that Leon's was pursuing as a brand.
So moving ahead to one of the other issues, which is finance. The financial trends in the current industry trends, that is industries with high economic of scales actually have a better opportunity to do well because they actually maximize profit and minimize cost of production, which is like producing in mass quantity. And good financial position is actually necessary to actually do well and break into the market, into the industry of the restaurant industry as well, because you need to have a good, strong position of financial background and to compete with other competitors in the industry. So the current Leon's financial standing, this is just the financial standing of Leon from 2016 to 2018. 2019 is not available now because the restaurant is still running. The financial year is not yet over. So you can see from 2016, Leon actually made profit, and the total revenue is 42.1. 2017, 56.3 million, and 2018, 65.2. But they eventually made loss. They ran at a loss from 2017 to 2018. This is because they invested more in opening of new outlets and did little or less when it comes to advertisement and marketing. So the KPIs, the finance KPIs, using the Gavin 8 dimension, we are actually going to talk on three Gavin's dimension, which is performance, durability, and reliability. So talking of performance, volume of sales, this is actually the amount of sales the company can actually measure in a financial period. So you need to, Leon Restaurants need to actually come up with a strong capability to undermine this. So the customer's lifetime value, this is the actual lifetime value of a customer in patronizing the company. And the longer time the customer actually has in patronizing the company, the company actually generates more income. The net profit income and net profit margin. This actually deals with the income the Leon Restaurant actually generates in a financial period at a particular time. The relative income per customer types. This is actually has to do with the product and how much income the company is generating. So moving to durability, debt to equity ratio. This is actually the debt in which the different stakeholders actually share together in the business. Account receivable turnover. The higher the accounts receivable, that is the better for the company. And account payable, the lower the account payable, the better for the company as well. Moving to reliability, value of dividends. The value of dividends are actually the amount different stakeholders benefit and derive from the business. It's actually like the profit they gain from their investments. Earnings per share of the company. This is actually the total amount of revenue they derive from investing as well into the business. This is actually the earnings per share of the business.
Having looked at the weaknesses of Leon Restaurants, the group came up with a new strategy using business model canvas. This business model canvas comprises of the internal and external factors that affect Leon Restaurants, as well as the value proposition, which is the link between the two. It also incorporates the old business model of Leon and our proposed solutions. Leon's current target market is the working class who can afford to pay for the quality of meals that they offer. In considering their vision, which is to expand to every major city in the world, it is important that they expand their customer segments to reach out to more people who require healthy meals. For example, the young people, the children, parents, and old people. And this would help enhance their sales and in turn increase revenue. Next is the channels. How do the customers want to be reached? Apart from expanding to different locations and train stations and airports, Leon Restaurant needs to increase its online presence and engage more customers using social media handles like the Instagram and Facebook. It also needs to use its company's billboard in various locations to attract customers. Another very valid point is, for us young people, they need to bring their presence to universities and offer discounts and lottery cards or coupons to students who would enable them have more influx and new customers. Next is the customer relationship. In restaurants today, it is important to have a one-on-one contact with your customers, and in order to provide personal assistance and guides which would enable customers understand the company's menu. It is also important to enable customers have self-service in form of kiosk and conveyor belts to take charge of their ordering process from start to finish. This engages them more and helps them return without staying on queues for a long time. Also, the eat-in and take-out options are an example of relationships that could enhance sales. Co-creation, which is one of the most important, enables customers to give feedbacks and bring out their ideas or for new menus or for things that they would like to see in order for them to return. And Leon Restaurant, incorporating this in their system, would generate more sales for them. Next is the revenue streams. Leon Restaurant currently has 3 ways with which it generates income. The first one is through its subsidiaries. The second one is sales from companies' owned restaurants. And thirdly is from the franchises, the income received from these franchises. Now, having increased the customer segments for the company, this will in turn affect or impact the revenue stream. It will enable them have more sales and in turn increase the revenue of the company. These are the external factors proposed for income generation in the business model for Leon Restaurants.
So I present the right-hand side of the business model canvas, starting with key resources and capabilities of Leon Restaurants. Leon, one of the most indispensable assets of Leon's is its raw materials that are sourced naturally and from local farmers. So Leon also enjoys a strong brand presence among its target customers as they get seasonal recipes, seasonal menus with a lot of varieties. They also have a very good supply chain that is evident in the method of how they source the meat from farmers. They have a very set standard of animal welfare standards that the farmers have to comply with, and they also have a check on these when they visit the sites occasionally. Also, Leon's have ventured into a new product range featuring oils, mayos, sauces from the own Leon's restaurant. And they also focus mainly on a food that tastes good, does good, and makes one feel good, and that's how they have made a secret recipe. But Leon has to improve in their on-house, online training, and well-being sessions to motivate their employees. Moving on to the key activities that they need to perform to sustain them in this industry. They have to have the same level of quality control that they are maintaining right now, but they need to improve their advertisements and marketing techniques to better them in the future. They, as already discussed, they have a poor finance management and they need to improve on that. They need to better their customer service and also improve on the training of staff. So also they have to have more contracts and deals and sponsorships with companies like Sainsbury's that has to be sustainable and a better way to market them. The next is key partnership that they have to have if they want to be sustainable. The most important thing is the suppliers when you talk about partnership. Leon's have a good partnership with all of its suppliers, though they are only sourced from a limited number of suppliers because they want their products to be bespoke. They have farmers from Wales from where they source their milk. They only source sustainably farmed or sustainably caught fish like the Scottish smoked collie. Also, they were the first one to serve coffee that was fair trade, organic, and helped in preserving rainforests. They also provide organic eggs in the restaurants. Moving on to the investors. The most important investor in Leon is the Spice Private Equity, which invested around £25 million in August 2017 and holds around 40% of the company. And talking about active partners, they invested in Leon's when it started its first restaurant in Carmody Street in 2004. Now moving on to partnerships with celebrities. As already mentioned, the partnership with Gizzy Erskine, a TV presenter and a professional chef, in 2017, and they created a new recipe which was liked by their customers. We also suggest that they should open more restaurants at airports, train stations, malls, tollways and services in UK so that they can improve their brand presence in the domestic area. This will also be effective as this restaurant was started because of the founders. They did not find enough restaurants which provided naturally or healthy food while they were going up and down in the UK. Lastly, they should partner with gyms, health shops, so that they can go and provide on-site food, or they can have restaurants at their. Moving on to the cost structure that Leon follows. So it majorly incurs the cost for its marketing, promotions, or advertisements that it has to increase for a domestic presence. So the question arises, where does it get the finances from? We propose that it slows down the rate of international expansion for the few years, and it takes out the money from there and puts it in domestic expansion or marketing expansion basically. Also, it sources naturally occurring raw materials which costs a lot for them. Moreover, when they have a number of company-owned restaurants which are leased by them, and the other warehouses where they store their raw materials, they have to pay lease rents for them. They follow a zero median pay gap rule for the employees, so they pay a good amount of salary to them. Lastly, they have a lot of new innovative products in the menu, which cost them a lot of research and development cost. Thus, this completes the left-hand side of the business model canvas.
Finally, we're going to look at the value propositions that we created for Leon's. The whole purpose of creating the value proposition was to show the promise that Leon wants to make for its audience in the future, its potential customers and the consumers that it wants to establish. We're going to look at the quality of food. Is there Wi-Fi, optional table service, and e-ordering or e-payments from the table. Those factors actually link the internal and external of the business model canvas. Next, we're going to look at the recommendations. What we recommend for Leon's management is to adjust the company's strategy and provide adequate marketing or advertisement. Slow down the rate or new openings of redirecting the locations based on their industry standards or outlets. And the third point was to implement the business model canvas as we just proposed. Part of this would also want to address the marketing and finance issues. In conclusion, as we discussed, there were two key weaknesses in Leon's restaurant strategy. That was the marketing and finance. We used Garwin's 8 dimensions, out of which we selected 3 to create the key performance indicators. And then we proposed the business model canvas to address the marketing and finance issues. And finally, we outlined recommendations. Thank you for listening.